Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of July 28th, 2018. 19 years ago this week, Rock and Roller Coaster debuted at Disney's Hollywood Studios. True story, I stayed across the hall from Steven Tyler at the boardwalk while Aerosmith was in town for the opening. He actually was not anything crazy at all. I spied on all of his room service meals every morning to see what he had the night before. And basically it was fiber breakfast cereals and M&Ms. So not the hard living that you are used to from Steven Tyler. And that reminds me, we need to bring in our own frontman for the show, one Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Excuse me, I need to put down my turkey leg and M&M sandwich here.
Honest to God, Jim, it was brand cereal and M&Ms.
Oh.
We'll never forget it. It could be their secret to their longevity right there.
Could be. When you see someone like a Steven Tyler, he's a New England guy, and they do a giant Renaissance fair down by the Cape called King Richard's Fair every year. And I remember I was there once with Jeff Lang, and so we're sitting down, again, you know, it's Renaissance food, so we're sitting there with our oversized turkey legs, and Jeff and I are talking over lunch, and he goes pale on me, and it's like, what's going on? And he sort of does the frantic eye thing, and it's like, at the other end of the communal picnic table, who's just sat down but Steven Tyler? And it was just sort of like, shouldn't you have a giant bag of grog or...
Exactly. Shouldn't you be drinking more?
Yeah, and it's like, no, you were just out being a family guy and enjoying his day at the thing. So it's like, I thought you were crazy. Aren't you supposed to be kicking down walls and riding elevators? And
apparently not. Renaissance festivals, brand cereal, and M&Ms. Stars, they're just like us.
There we go, except for the turkey leg. So, by the way, did you see that, I forget which of the theme parks is now offering a pretzel-wrapped turkey leg?
A pretzel-wrapped turkey leg?
Yes.
No.
It only costs like $17. Never mind about feed a family of five. It looks like it could seat a family of five.
How big is a pretzel-wrapped turkey leg? Is this a Disney park?
I want to say yes, though it might be not. This is that time of year where the press releases come hot and heavy.
All right, let me know, because I've been to the studios the last couple of days. I've been to Epcot, which I want to talk about in a bit.
Okay.
But let me know where it's at. I will find this gym and take a picture of it.
Because seriously, Len, this looks like a flotation device.
I am both horrified and fascinated by this piece of news. Yesterday was National Tequila Day. I celebrated by visiting La Cava del Tequila in the Mexico Pavilion. It was tasty and wonderful as always. Jim, a quick question about National Tequila Day. Two questions, actually. Number one, who decided that it could be on a Tuesday? And number two, why is that not a 6-day weekend? Like, I'm absolutely fine with it being on a Tuesday as long as we get some time off, is what I'm saying, you know?
The pictures you tweeted out, it's like you were sitting there with your drink special. Poor Laurel is sitting there with her tablet, still working. All right, so
still she's composing the perfect shots for Instagram. She's tweeting everything out. I like to say that I don't have that kind of eye for talent and visual beauty that Laurel does. So Laurel's better at that than I am. She got to do the Instagramming. I'm the pretty face of this organization. I don't actually have any skills for any of it. I don't know what I do.
I try running this exact scam with Nancy. She just does not buy it.
You try to tell Nancy you're the pretty face of the organization. She brings you into the bathroom in front of the mirror and she's like, tell me what you just said again.
Well, there you go. It's like, now get back out onto that bridge and frighten some goats.
Exactly. The other thing I did, and I've done this a couple times in the last 6 months, but I ate at Tutto Gusto, the wine bar next to Italia in Italy.
Oh, cool. And?
The place was kind of expensive. Remember when it first opened, you could order the meats and the cheeses and the charcuterie plate sort of a la carte. And then pretty much instantly after they opened, they switched over to a 2-person fixed menu for each of the different boards. Like it would either be like 2 meats and a cheese, a meat, 2 cheeses, some combination of vegetables, meats, and cheeses. But it was like $25 to $29 per thing.
Yeesh.
They've still kept that. And the thing that I think was surprising to me, those prices really haven't changed very much in the past 3 years. So it's like they did this big price increase, but then the prices have remained relatively stable for a long time. And that's moderately interesting. The other thing is, the last show we talked about restaurants and how highly Tutto Gusto is rated by people in the Unofficial Guide, by readers of the Unofficial Guide and touringplans.com. And I think that's part of it. It's still good value, I think, for the money now, especially since the prices of everything else have gone up in Epcot, and these have stayed the same. So I was really happy with the meal there. I also noticed though, so the left hand side of the menu is these sort of charcuterie plates. The right side of the menu used to be small plates of food, a small bowl of pasta, a small bowl of salad or seafood salad or something like that. They've actually gone to larger portions there. So now in the wine bar place, sort of the place where you go to get a drink and a bite to eat, you could actually get, if you wanted, an entire serving of chicken parmesan for $30, or a steak, a New York strip for, like 36 or whatever. I think that might be how they're making up their money.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still those relatively itty-bitty tables, isn't it?
It is. These are tables that you would typically stand around in a bar. And there are some regular seating, and some of the seating is very nice, but it is more of a bar feel to it. I did also note yesterday that the actual bar in Tutta Gusto doesn't have seats. It's designed not to make people linger there, which I think is pretty clever. Yeah, so the menu has changed there, and the food was really good. I don't know whether I would go to Tutta Gusto to order a steak.
Yeah.
The thing that I would like to see is smaller portions of the things that you could get at Tutto Italia. Like, it's fine for Tutta Gusto to say, you can order anything you want off the Tutto Italia menu because we'll just, we share a kitchen, we'll just walk it over. But I'd like to see smaller portions available on the menu, because if I'm stopping into a wine cellar, I don't necessarily want a 12-ounce sirloin, with a side of fries. That seems like a lot of food.
They have the defibrillators that are, supposedly within walking distance of. It's not back in the Alfredo days where literally
no.
People would walk outside after a heavy meal and get about 100 yards and pitch forward. But again, eating an entire steak at that position in Epcot, it's a very bad idea.
I like to think that the fat in the steak is balanced out by the resveratrol in the red wine that I'm drinking. So it's sort of like, it's a wash. That's what I'm going with.
And that's exactly what they'll do with the pavement where you land. They'll wash it.
Wash it.
That's
exactly.
Right. No one needs to see that.
A couple of other things as I was walking around. Number one, that Guardians of the Galaxy building, Jim, is huge.
I was telling people this. And in fact,
massive.
And this is the thing that makes me crazy, because when I was talking about the texture mapping, the projection mapping that they were potentially talking about, everyone thought I was insane, because it's like, there's no way you can see that building from inside the park.
Oh, from inside the park? So here's the thing, and this is, and I actually think this is something that Disney Imagineering did really well. I was standing at World Showcase Lagoon and looking back towards Spaceship Earth. And if you look back towards Spaceship Earth, in the sort of the middle ground is, and to your right is the test track building, which is in itself a pretty big building, right? The Guardians of the Galaxy building, the top of it is about the same height as the test track building if you're standing back by World Showcase Lagoon. That is, they look to be about the same size. But you got to remember that the Guardians of the Galaxy building is way past the test track building. So it appears smaller in the distance than it actually is, so that because of the way perspective works, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's good, right? And that's one of the reasons why I think that Guardians of the Galaxy building is located where it is, so that it's not visually intrusive. If they had put that size building next to Universe of Energy, it would dwarf Spaceship Earth. It would be by far the biggest thing in your line of sight.
Yeah, but again, they're going to need every inch of that show building for the longest possible indoor coaster. I guess we should take a moment here to talk quickly about the James Gunn situation.
Oh, yeah. So do you want to give a summary of this? And then
James Gunn was let go from the Walt Disney Company late last week for some tweets that he...
Some tweets.
by some tweets talking about his tweets. You have to understand that James, prior to working for Disney, actually worked for Troma, which this is the studio that's made how many Toxic Avenger movies, and they kind of pride themselves on being offensive. So while James was there, he kind of stayed with the house style and made some very unfortunate jokes that, unfortunately, after what the Walt Disney Company did with Roseanne and John Lasseter, their hands were tied when these tweets came out. So James was let go on Friday, and what's been kind of interesting is that the entertainment community has pushed back in a large way. In fact, as of right now, there's a change.org petition online that last I heard was over 270,000 signatures asking.
Oh, really? So it was at 200,000 yesterday, so it's
Yeah.
at 270 now?
Yeah. This is not going to change at least until the Walt Disney Company completes its $71.8 billion acquisition of Fox. They need to have this deal locked and out of the hands of government regulators who could perhaps turn this deal around. Remember, it wasn't all that long ago that the AT&T deal suddenly came up for review again. But look, James was incredibly gracious, took full responsibility for what he did. And what I'm hearing from folks at Disney is that basically, if you notice, it wasn't Bob Iger that made this announcement. It was Alan Horn, who's the head of Walt Disney Studios.
Okay.
By the way, is looking to retire at the end of this year. So there's kind of a thought in a way that if James did the right thing, he took responsibility, he apologized, he stepped away quickly. Based on folks I'm talking with within the company, the belief is that James will eventually be allowed back. But he won't be allowed back in time to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3, nor will he be available to do the onboard ride footage for the Guardians ride for Epcot. Given our current political climate and what's going on in the culture, the belief is that James has probably got to do his time. It'll be a year, maybe two. And then hopefully he will be allowed back in some capacity. The folks at Marvel really love him. In fact, basically the entire cast of the movie came out and it's like supportive of him. So this is kind of an interesting situation. And James, who was really, really looking forward to working on the Epcot ride because he'd had so much fun working on Mission Breakout last year. This is where we are in the culture right now. And Disney, again, felt like its hands were tied given what the company had done in regard to what Rosanna tweeted and what they'd done in regard to Mr. Lasseter and the many unwanted hugs. So
Lasseter's thing is completely different. Actions are different than speech, right? So Lasseter's in a category of himself.
I get that.
I thought they overreacted with James Gunn. And by the way, I don't really care for the Guardians movies. I don't know who this guy is. One way or the other. I think the jokes that he made were tasteless and they were offensive. They were 8 years ago. Disney knew what they were getting into when they brought him on for Guardians. Right, all of this was available when it was Guardians. Number two, there is a difference between jokes made in extremely poor taste and racism. Right, those are two vastly different things.
You are preaching to the choir,
especially
here.
Unrepentant racism.
Yeah.
As a business owner, I would treat both of those things in separate categories. I don't think they're equivalent at all, and I don't think firing James Gunn was warranted in this particular case. It just seemed to me to be an overreaction. He took it graciously. I wouldn't have any problem bringing him back. And again, I don't even care about the Guardians movies or about him. This was just looking at this from a business perspective. That's not the kind of thing. The two things that happened would not have got equal penalties from me if it was my company. That's all I'm saying.
Everybody I've talked with at Disney had said if we weren't in the middle of the Fox deal, we could have hung tough.
Yeah, and I get that. If Iger comes out and says, "Look, these are two vastly different things," I get it. But in the regulatory environment that they're in, I understand it. Right, I understand why they did it. Anyway. On to other things. So I was over at Epcot. I decided to go over to the boardwalk area. So some news about the gondolas here. It looks like the Speedway gas stations have been closed the last couple of nights. This is the Speedway gas station over by the boardwalk. The theory there is that they're either stringing wires for the gondola or they're testing the stringing of wires or something up above, something high up on the gondolas. So I'm still hearing sort of summer 2019 for these things to officially open. But progress is being made there.
Yeah, that is the time frame I'm hearing as well. Though when you talk with folks on this project, they're just sort of like, we really don't want to commit anything close to sounding like a hard date on this. In the house, I guess they're talking summer of 2019. But if you talk with the folks in ops and the people who are going to be handling training and that sort of thing, they're like, look, we don't anticipate getting guests on these things significantly till the fall of 2019, and we want to be ready, tested, and everybody's knows the procedures out ahead of the opening of Galaxy's Edge. So look for them to probably be up and running and handling guests about 60 days out from whatever Disney settles on for the opening date for Disney Hollywood's version of Star Wars Land.
Okay, and we'll know that it's close when they start testing actual gondolas on the track, right?
There you go.
Speaking of new things, I was over in Toy Story Land Sunday, just to see how the new land was faring with people, and it is entertaining. It was super crowded. People were having a lot of fun on Slinky Dog. People were enjoying themselves to a reasonable degree on Alien Swirling Saucers. Obviously, Toy Story Mania was also super popular. A couple of interesting things, though. I don't think we've talked about this on the show, but Toy Story Land is a dead end because you can only go in and out of it one way. From a pedestrian traffic perspective, the fact that you've got one entranceway supporting bidirectional traffic makes the whole place feel a lot more crowded than it is.
You talk with the folks at the park, their genuine fear at this point is because of the idea that's now being floated about, at least for the first year or two of operation of Galaxy's Edge, about people will exit on the Grand.
They'll go in through the baseline tap house area of Grand Avenue, and they'll come out Toy Story Land. Is that the idea?
Well, they keep swinging back and forth on this. In fact, initially, I believe the idea was that they were going to, because it's such a heavy retail presence, you're dropped right in the middle of Black Spire Outpost if you go in through the Toy Story Land entrance, whereas if you go through the other side, this is where you find the group of X-Wings that are parked in the forest. And the belief is the retail folks, especially the retail folks who are paying for all of this handmade looking merch, it's like, look, they have to enter through that. We want them to come right in and see it and open their wallets. Oh, by the way, I've had considerable pushback on the Death Star. It turns out that you are, in fact, going up to a dreadnought, not the Death Star.
Ah, okay. All right.
Death Star was the original idea. It's since mutated largely on the back of what was proposed for Last Jedi, the scene with Rose and Finn.
So in the current timeline, the Death Star no longer exists anyway. So
there we go.
The dreadnought makes more sense.
So they keep sliding back and forth, and we can't decide, and we're probably going to wait to see what happens in Anaheim in June before we decide whether or not we're going to commit to this. But it looks like, again, for the first 2 years, the belief is that that people will enter on one side of Star Wars Land and be compelled to go out the other side.
Oh yeah, I think that's, at least for the first few months, that's the only way that crowds are going to make sense. Because otherwise, you'll have people in stormtrooper outfits trampling kids running to Alien Swirling Saucers. It's just not a good thing.
And the downside of it means that Toy Story Land will not operate the way it was initially designed to. I mean, face it, the plan was that you were going to open up this entire back of the park and have this wonderful flow through. And then at some point, you were going to see the whole magic of animation structure where Launch Bay is right now get pulled down, and eventually create a flow through that would allow people to literally, for the first time ever, you wouldn't have a dead end on Sunset Boulevard. You could hang a left and go up, a Pixar themed street that would eventually tie you in with Toy Story Land, which would then allow you to flow into Galaxy's Edge, and you could walk all the way around the park and come out by Muppets. And
right.
For the first time ever, this park was going to have decent flow through, and we're now years away from that happening.
The other thing I did in Toy Story Land is I finally ate at Woody's Lunchbox.
Ooh.
Oh my God, the most delicious food. So I started with the grilled 3-cheese sandwich. This is provolone and cheddar with a cheddar cream cheese spread. But the thing that makes it is it's on garlic bread.
Ooh.
It is delicious. Like my mother never made food this good. I also had the tomato basil soup. It was only like 85 degrees, I think, when I was having the soup. So that was fine. Fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
There we go. So.
If you could just slather me in the cheese sauce while I'm eating this, I think I could be more human.
Okay.
But then the thing that I love, the raspberry lunchbox tart. So this is sort of like an elongated, thicker raspberry Pop-Tart, which is my favorite flavor of Pop-Tart. But this is just delicious. It's covered in strawberry fondant, I think. It is like every good tasting red fruit you could have. Totally delicious. $3.29 is a bargain for it. I know you can get an entire box of Pop-Tarts for that, but this is better. It was really fascinating. It was actually so much food that I I wanted to go back and try the barbecue brisket melt. But here's the problem, Jim. So I ate this food and I go back. There are only 2 cash registers at Woody's Lunchbox. There was a line. They had actually set up truncheons, the poles, to form an orderly zigzag line that went back like 6 layers deep. It was a good 30 or 35-minute wait to order food. By the time I got back, like I'm not going to stand in the sun for half an hour to order brisket, in Florida in July. I'm just not going to do it. I don't know what they were thinking there about the demand for food.
I've been inquiring about this because this issue came up from day one. The argument when you talk with the folks with the test kitchen and that sort of thing, it's like you don't build your church for Easter Sunday.
Oh, I know, I get it.
Right now, because this is a dead end and people can't get into Batu, this is just the restaurants getting hammered. And the fact they created a menu that people really responded to strongly. The belief is that once Galaxy's Edge opens and all of the eateries in the central district of the shopping area are available, that'll take considerable heat and considerable demand off of Woody's Lunchbox, and you'll see that stanchion creep in by half. I mean, it's still going to be a 10 or 15-minute wait for food. Think about it. Flame Tree Barbecue over at Animal Kingdom.
Oh, it's got like, what, 5, 6 things open. But it got 5 or 6 registers open, but it is in the middle of Discover Island. It is on the central walking path to both Dinoland and to Asia.
Having had conversations of the designer of this particular restaurant, it said, our hands were tied when they said lunch box. If on the other hand, it was Andy's lunch egg carton, something that allowed us to extend, but it was like, when they said lunchbox, it's like, all right, it's the windows. And there are already supposedly conversations, because remember, there's a third expansion pad there inside of Toy Story Land. Do you get any sense of where this expansion pad is when you're wandering the land?
So as you walk in, I think it would be to the right. It would be the right of Slinky Dog is what I'm guessing.
Okay, because that supposedly has been earmarked for an attraction of size and another food facility. But, there's actually been, I guess, some talk about, do we need to look seriously about sacrificing the ride space for another dining opportunity? They don't want to make a decision about this for about 3 or 4 years. They want to wait on Galaxy's Edge opening and seeing what flow through is and what demand is, and then revisiting, do we need another ride, or do we just ditch the ride and go with a food complex?
There's definitely stuff to the right, I guess to the north of the north part of Toy Story Land. Speaking of speeding things up at Woody's Lunchbox, did you see that the Monte Cristo sandwich lasted less than 2 weeks after opening and now it's gone? In talking to people at Food and Bev, they said that the problem was that 75% of the orders they were getting for the Monte Cristo were special orders, where people were saying things like, can I have it without turkey? Can I have it without powdered sugar? Can I have it without the jam on it as well? And that was slowing things down even further because those had to be made to order. So they got rid of they got 75% special orders. I mean, that's astounding.
Well, that's the world we live in now.
No, I get it. But you would think that somebody in Food and Bev would have some experience saying, okay, this sandwich that has 2 kinds of meats is deep fried, contains a raspberry jam and then powdered sugar. The more ingredients you put into a thing, the more things people can object to in it. Why would you have that, of all things?
Let me to give you a little background on the Monte Cristo, which, again, is served out at Disneyland in the New Orleans Square area.
Yeah, in Blue Bayou, yeah. Care
to guess which soon-to-be former Pixar executive loves the Monte Cristo sandwich?
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I'm gonna tell you a joke here. So we were at a bar, a Disney bar. A drink that they serve is called the Blue Sky Soda, but it didn't have a description on it. So Laurel asked the server, "What is a Blue Sky Special?" And the server gives the description of it. And at the end, I paused and I said, "And then when you're done, John Lasseter fills you up." The server looked at me like, "Yeah, we can't say that. Just not a joke that I could endorse. I can't laugh, but I'm going to walk away now. You may hear me saying something."
Chortling in the distance. In hindsight, here's hoping that Pete Docter likes much easier to make sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. So one last thing, and then we'll talk about some Epcot rumors. I was over at All Star Movies. Walking around the other day and noticed that there's considerable construction going on at buildings 7 and 8 at movies, and looking in the windows, I'm not saying that I donned a fluorescent yellow vest, hard hat, and work boots to skip over some barriers into a construction zone, but I'm not saying I didn't either. Anyway, it looks like these All-Star movies are getting the room refurbishments that we saw over at Pop Century, with new vinyl faux hardwood floors, larger beds, and the with one bed folding up Murphy style into a table when it's not a bed, but also completely new bathrooms, lots more storage, flat panel TV up against the wall, not on an armoire. Looks like a much cleaner design, much more like what Pop Century got. The floors are lighter than what Pop Century got, so it's more of an oak instead of a teak look on the floors. But I really liked it. It looked great. I would expect that these rooms should be ready, buildings 7 and 8, by late summer, like September-ish. If you want to start booking and asking for those, if our listeners want to are heading over to All-Star Movies and they want to ask for buildings 7 and 8, that would probably be a good idea. And let us know what you think about it. But this is, Jim, this is all preparation for the 50th, right?
Oh, absolutely. Though I was told in regard to these new faux wood floors, they are so much easier to clean and maintain than the old carpets.
Yeah, they're not going to chop dirt the same way, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the All-Stars, they were the ones that got the conversion to the shampoo and the body wash that's chained to the wall.
I wasn't able to get into the room to see what the shower looked like. If there's a room open, I can sort of wander in, or pay a construction worker to take some photos for me, something like that. But I'll look. But we should know soon enough. We should know in the next 60 days.
Okay,
and these rooms should be open. All right, Jim. Let's take a quick break then from our news updates. Let's come back and talk about some rumors and some debunking of rumors that we've heard about. All right, we'll be right back, folks.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
And we're back. All right, Jim. We've talked, I think, a little bit about each of the rumors we're about to present here. The reason why we're bringing them up again is that word going around on the internet that all of these projects have been approved in the last week, but what we're hearing is possibly not. Let's start with the Coco overlay at the Mexico Pavilion. The word is that this has been approved now, but you're hearing it's not?
Coco opened in theaters November 2017. And about that same time, we saw a Dias de Muertos exhibit go into the lobby area of the Mexico Pavilion. In just over the 4th of July weekend, an interactive component, I believe the exhibit's called Remember Me.
Right, it's a Dia de los Muertos thing, yeah. And I was actually there yesterday. I was there for National Tequila Day, obviously, as well. But after you had talked about this, I went over to see just how busy all of this stuff was. Go ahead.
The thing of this interactive is that it allows you to take your own features and sort of skeletize them.
Yeah, you stand in front of a monitor, it takes your picture, it turns you into a skeleton. Kids love it.
What they're talking about doing is taking the original River of Time attraction, which, remember back in April of 2007 was changed over to the Grand Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros. The notion is to gut the attraction and bring in the Coco storyline. This is not a terribly heavy capacity ride.
No.
They're using the Remember Me exhibit in the lobby, but they're actually counting the number of people who do this. When people walk through and look at the Dias de Muertos stuff in the lobby, you can't really get a sense of, somebody can sit in there with a hand clicker and go, okay, this is the number of people to loiter, to look at the artwork, that sort of thing, who read the stuff on the wall. But on the other hand, you can get a hard number off of, who went and did the skeleton conversion. And they're actually supposedly using the information of the number of people who stop and do, this Coco-themed Remember Me thing. And at the end of Labor Day, this thing will have been operating for about 6 months. They're going to take that number back to Imagineering and say, okay, extrapolating the number of people, who stopped and did this, this is what we believe the interest is in a Coco attraction. What, for me, is fascinating is that It's actually the Mexico Pavilion itself that's kind of pushing back against the Coco redo, and a lot of it actually has to deal with the San Angelo
San Angelo, and the restaurant that's right on the water around the. That's right on the water because the boats float past that as part of the Grand Fiesta Tour, and that would take away some of the waterside ambiance.
That's it, exactly.
Not some. It would take away all of the waterside ambiance of the San Angelo. And that place is packed for lunch and dinner.
Well, and this is the point, that if you're going to destroy the ambience of this restaurant, in fact, depending on how that individual show scene would be impacted, they're estimating if it took between 3 and 5 months to redo that and to change out the scene and bring that show lineup back, there's been an estimate that there could be a $5 million impact on the bottom line
for the San Angelo. And don't forget, that's run by a third-party company too, isn't that Patina Group?
There we go.
Yeah, it's not like Disney can absorb it and say, well, we made $9 billion last year or whatever.
Yeah, so there's considerable pushback there. The other thing that's coming back is that they've done significant study inside the building, and it's just not a Maelstrom situation where you have for example, the Spirit of Norway movie theater, where, okay, we can put an additional show scene here, we can extend the track. That's just not doable with Rio de Tempo. The show building is backed up right against the Odyssey. Likewise, on the other side now, you've actually cut through that thick rainforest, and you're in Norway. You're up against the Sommerhus, and there's just not the space that they want for expansion. So based on who I've been talking with, there's a number of folks who say this test is kind of set up in a way so that the Coco expansion will fail. They're just not going to get the numbers that they expect or are hoping from guests doing the Remember Me thing. And remember, Bob Chapek, the new head of parks, the guy who's calling the shots, he's all about numbers. He's all about how many units have sold, how many DVDs, how many digital downloads. And while Coco did a lot better, frankly, than people in the company had anticipated during its theatrical release and worldwide and all that, it's still not a Nemo. It's still not an Incredibles. And so the weird aspect is if you talk with anybody about the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World and how they are repositioning Epcot between the Ratatouille ride and the Journey into Imagination redo built around Inside Out, again, because that's a film Pete Docter directed, and Pete is now the new creative for Pixar.
Right.
That's picked up some momentum. They want to be able, for the 50th anniversary, to be able to talk up Epcot as a newly kid-friendly resort that, by the way, will have this wonderful Guardians of the Galaxy indoor coaster. I mean, I know this is not going to make you happy, Len, because you love classic Epcot, but they are trying to put the whole science and discovery identity of this park in the rearview mirror.
It's just wrong. All right, Jim, one other quick thing. Rumor was Brazil for the next country. You're hearing that that's also not been greenlit yet?
What I heard is that suddenly there was a conference room that was set up with the Brasilia model again and the concept art. And you do that when you are talking with potential sponsors.
Ah, okay.
I guess conversations have started yet again. And what's kind of interesting to me is if you look at like over at Wide World of Sports, they've got that Disney International thing that they just recently announced that will feature how many kids coming in from Brazil to do soccer? I mean, Brazil is clearly on the mind of the company yet again. You know, I don't know if you've been following what's going on with DuckTales or that Disney app where, you know, they actually did a Three Caballeros animation.
Jimmy, the only person on earth who would ever ask me, Len, I don't know if you've been following what's happening with DuckTales.
Yeah, so...
That is such a Jim and Len thing to say. All right, go ahead.
We're the week after Comic-Con, and the world kind of I mean, seriously, you can go online right now. There's a piece of footage from the DuckTales presentation, and they just put up the imagery because in season 2, the Three Caballeros were coming into the show, and you would have thought that Elvis himself had come back from the dead. The noise that audience made. I love what Eric Goldberg did for the animation of, you know, Grand Fiesta Tour. I don't get the crazy response for the Three Caballero characters myself,
Yeah.
but there is, in fact, an audience out there. In fact, this is where it got crazy strange, was if Coco, in fact, came in and did the Grand Fiesta, if they did the change-up, that would then make the Three Caballero characters available to move over to the Brazil Pavilion. I've been tracking Brazil since 1980.
Yeah, right. Remember we talked about at our Disney Dish event in November of last year about how Disney had contracted out a landscaping test for parts of the Brazil Pavilion back in the 80s. And the reason why we know it is we saw the receipts for the work that was being done. So somewhere on property they had tested something related to the concept for that.
Yeah. So it has always been one of the ones that's on the table, it's off the table, it's on the table. But again, realistically right now, every conversation when you talk with anybody at Disney, it's all about the 50th anniversary and what they can have. Whatever is being built has to be ready by December of 2010. 2020, my mistake. I know you've been tweeting with folks and chatting with them about, when can you book rooms to get on property?
Exactly.
October 1st, 2000.
499 days out. Yeah.
Just be careful, because I have been hearing that they will do the year-long celebration thing, which most likely will kick off January 1st of 2021.
That's right. That was my question. So the actual anniversary is in October of 2021.
Yeah.
When does the year begin? Is it January 1st, 2021 and running for like 15 months?
I have heard that if you look at the 50th anniversary of Disneyland and what they did, remember that there was a worldwide celebration component. But, the notion is this is the year to be here.
Okay.
So, yes, there will, in fact, be actual anniversary celebrations on the date. But again, remember that, yes, the resort opened on October 1st, 1971, but the grand opening was spread over like 3 days, with the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th. So as far as the company's concerned, it's like, screw it, it's January 1st. It's going to be year-long, and yes, we will most likely announce in October, November that we're extending till March 31st, so...
Okay. When Disney knows it has a really good marketing promotion, it's not a year, it's 15 months.
No, absolutely.
Right? The Year of a Million Dreams was the 15 months of a Million Dreams and whatnot. So I'm absolutely fine with that. If the marketing promotion here is any good at all, 15 months is fine.
I would just be ready for this to get underway in January. And again, if you're a purist, absolutely, book the October 1st date. But yeah, if you're one of those people who's clocking 500 days out, might want to slide that about 9 months earlier now.
All right, Jim, I know today we were going to talk about the ratings for Universal Orlando restaurants, but we're already pretty long into the show. Let's save that for the next show. I do want to say one thing about restaurants, though. Did you see the list that Restaurant Business Online came out with last week, rating by revenue the top 100 independent restaurants in the United States? Did you see this list?
No, I missed that.
It's restaurantbusinessonline.com, top-100-independents. And this is ranked by sales. The top independent restaurant in the United States, Tao, Las Vegas. Totally not surprised by that. $42 million in sales last year. Average check, $90. Number of meals served, 226,146. Number 2, Joe's Stone Crab, which I've been to in Miami Beach. $37 million, $80 average check, 316,000 people. Here's what's interesting, Jim. Number 6, The Boathouse, Orlando. $30 million on a $43 check.
Are you
643,829 meals served. That's more than 1,700 meals a day, Jim, and they're only open for lunch and dinner.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
I mean, I remember touring that prior to opening with Steve Slusher, the gentleman who developed it, and the kitchen back. Have you actually been in the kitchen?
I've seen it. Yeah,
there's so much state of the art, so much efficiency back there, and then when you think about how many giant dining rooms sort of pinwheel off of that, the way the
it's a huge space.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they're doing 1,700 meals a night, right? I mean, also in the top 100, Wolfgang Puck Grand Cafe at Disney Springs, $15.9 million, $48 average check on 345,000 meals. We don't talk much about the Wolfgang Puck Grand Cafe. I think the food is fine for what it is, but it's definitely popular if it's getting 345,000 people. Here's the one that surprised me a little bit, though. Number 61. You want to take a guess? Also Disney Springs?
Not Rainforest, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Morimoto Asia, 15.6 million, $65 average check, 490,000 people visiting.
Boathouse, I get. People, come straight in from the parking garage, and Morimoto, it's kind of a dog leg to get there. But Wolfgang Puck is really kind of a schlep, isn't it?
It is. I don't get the Wolfgang Puck thing there. It was hard to get to. The entrance to it is not obscure, but it's not as obvious how you get into it as maybe some of the other places, and I think that doesn't help it. For me, the food is... It's Laurel's yelling dated. It is. There's no other word for it. Okay. The entire menu needs an overhaul. It was probably cutting edge in the 80s, and I'm not exaggerating, with the sort of Pan-Asian/American fusion thing. It wouldn't be in my top 10 list of places to eat these days at Disney Springs. But God bless them. I mean, they're doing almost 16 million in revenue on 345,000 covers. That's fantastic. Again, they're doing something right.
And the fact that you have to follow a trail of shiny stones to get to the restaurant.
Yeah,
no, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So good for those guys. They're all doing really well. I would not be surprised to see a couple more places in Disney Springs on this list eventually. So to make the list this year to be number 100, you had to have 12.95 million in revenue. By the way, the number 100, Cafe Fiorello, which is named after Fiorello LaGuardia in New York. It is my local cafe in New York. Honest to God, it is adorable. This tells you how connected Mr. Fiorello was. Every table that you sit at has a plaque on it that says reserved for Judge so-and-so. like this is how things are done in New York, right, Jim? Mr. Tester, you can sit at Judge Wapner's table, but if he comes in, have to move you. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. Knock yourself out. That is delicious food, wonderful service, old time restaurant in New York. It's adorable. I walk by it almost every other day or so. It's fantastic.
Very cool.
All right, folks. You've been listening to the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. We are produced fabulously by Aaron Adams, who, as far as I know, does not have any associations with any judges or any other legal entities of any kind. Please go on to Stitcher or iTunes. Or, Jim, where else are we now? We're on Google Play. We're on Spotify. We're on everything, right?
iHeartRadio. Nancy actually got us on
iHeartRadio.
There we go.
Yeah, we're everywhere. So, go on to these places and listen to our show and rate us and tell us what you would like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.
Take care.